Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm Rob,
I'm Eli.
and we're going to talk about another Western Conference team, the Los Angeles Clippers. So, the Clippers we have slated here as this is the fourth worst team in the Western Conference. In other words, that puts them 12th. This is where it starts to get a little bit dicey, right? If you remember last year, there was a collection of teams that were just all lumped together. It's really hard to project where they are. But let's take a look first off at off-season moves. So I'll give you some off-season moves, and you can tell me what you think.
Cool.
They traded Austin Rivers now that Doc is no longer in charge of player personnel. They traded Austin Rivers for Marcin Gortat.
Obviously, another off-season move we'll be going into trading DeAndre. They needed another big man. They have Boban Marjanovic, but he's a 7-footer, but I don't think he has like the post-up skills that a lot of other centers have, especially like DeAndre. DeAndre was levels ahead of Boban. Bring in Gortat for Austin Rivers, who obviously averaged a little bit more, actually a lot of points this season.
Yeah. So we were both kind of surprised when we looked to see that Austin Rivers, since we don't get to see too many Clippers games, but he averaged 15 points a game. Not a very efficient player. His defense, this is one of the things that kind of made me a little ill. He actually got a vote for All-NBA defense.
That's
if not this last year, then the previous year when Marcus Smart got none. So that chapped me a little bit. So they get rid of him. These inefficient scorers, I think, are not that hard to come by.
yeah.
And then, of course, DeAndre Jordan leaves in free agency, opposite of his contract. And they replace him with Gortat, which I think is
It's a decent.
It's a pretty good move without looking at the salaries and the other
Yeah.
implications. I like Gortat as a replacement for DeAndre Jordan. He plays a completely different brand of basketball, but I don't think that they're going to miss Austin Rivers. He's just not my kind of player. Let's see. So what else did they do? So they signed Lou Williams to a long-term deal, right?
That was a must.
Yeah. So they've got him for 3 years at $8 million a year. That's a pretty
really good
reasonable deal. He's not a young guy anymore, but it's a reasonable
Still
deal.
dropping some points though.
Yep. They've still got Avery Bradley under contract for 2 more years at $12 and $13 million, respectively. So Bradley, of course, has had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And his defense has probably slipped a little bit from where it was. One thing with elite defenders, once you get to be about 27, 28 years old,
Just drops.
yeah, it starts to slip a little bit. So Lou Williams has won a Sixth Man of the Year a few times.
Who won it this year?
Yeah,
I forget.
Did he win it? I can't remember who won it this year.
I forgot it.
I'd have to look it up. Patrick Beverley's on the roster. He's kind of a bulldog point guard, so he's likely their starter.
I mean, losing Austin Rivers, who I believe was a point guard, he played point. And Patrick Beverley is just better, I think. So they're an overall better player.
I agree that
Austin
Beverley's
Rivers,
a better player than Austin Rivers.
That's a great deal, actually. Now I think about it.
Yeah.
Patrick Beverley.
So this is one that we're a little late to the party on, but of course the Blake Griffin deal was a big move for them. That was sort of a changing of the guard.
It happened all the way back in
Early on, last year. And I don't remember the specifics of the deal, but what it boils down to me was they got Tobias Harris
Avery Bradley.
and Avery Bradley. Yeah.
And a couple of other stuff like that.
I really like Tobias Harris as a player,
He's-
and I think that he's still on the good side of his career, unlike Blake. I thought this was a great deal for the Clippers. Now, it didn't translate to too many wins. How many wins did they have last year?
I'll check right now. They had 42.
42 wins. I mean, that's overperforming, if you ask me, looking at the way that the roster was
They
constructed.
put him at 12.
Yeah. So, and we've got them as the 12th best team now. The rest of the roster, just quickly, the sort of mentionables, Danilo Gallinari. You never really know what you're going to get out of him, but when he plays and when he's healthy, he's a really solid contributor on the offensive end. bit of a liability on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Montrell Harrell is a guy that I like. Luke Ricard Mbamute is a solid defender, decent spot shooter. So, yeah, I think I'm really surprised that they won 42 games last year.
Yeah.
Credit to Doc Rivers on that one. Okay, so we talked about the moves that they made in the offseason. So let's look at their draft picks. They had an interesting draft. I think they had just a slam dunk of a draft. They picked a guy that you know that I really am in love with, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
6'6" guard, and they have him listed as shooting guard here, which don't buy that. He's a point guard, but he can play the two. He can defend 1 through 3. He does everything. He can finish at the rim. He's just a fantastic pickup. I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised if he's starting on day one, and he's literally a Rookie of the Year candidate, even though they picked him down at 11 or 12 or 13. I know they made a deal with those picks. The other guy they got was Jerome Robinson, who I think is out of Boston College and is just a really good all-around player. So I think that they knocked the draft picks out of the park. I would have picked Gilgeous-Alexander ahead of Doncic. That's how good I think he is.
Really?
Ahead of Trae Young. Yep.
I
would have had him right behind Wendell Carter, Jaren Jackson, and maybe somebody I'm forgetting right now. Maybe Bagley.
Yeah.
I would have had Gilgeous-Alexander maybe 4th. That's how good I think he's going to be. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, and he's already living up to it. In Summer League, he was averaging like 22 points a game and just
he's killing it, dude.
Yeah, basically dominating every game. So we like their draft picks. The off-season moves were kind of lateral in terms of losing DeAndre, but the in-season moves we liked with Blake going away and the other two guys coming in.
Thing is, when you take away Blake, you're basically saying we don't want these stars anymore. We want to get a young core and try to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
So getting rid of DeAndre was a good thing in my opinion, and bringing in Gortat, that was even better. Basically replacing DeAndre with a pretty good overall center, just to kind of help all these, obviously.
Who's cheaper? Gortat makes $13 million, and DeAndre is getting what did we say? It's over 20.
Yeah, $20 million.
Over 20. So you're saving enough money to pay for Avery Bradley,
pretty much,
or maybe not Bradley, but one of these guys like a Lou Williams at $8 million. That's how much money you saved. So how does the roster fit together? Who do you start on the team?
Point guard. Ooh,
Beverly.
See, it's a tough one for me. Yeah, I start Beverly actually. Yeah.
The tricky part with Lou Williams is that his defense is not great. And it's always tough to start a game with guys that don't set the defensive tone.
It's like having Avery Bradley start, which obviously made Lou Williams 6th man of the year.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He was in Canada, obviously. I forgot who won.
Lou Williams is going to play like 25, between 25 and 30 minutes a game. It's almost like he's a starter.
But having someone like Avery Bradley on your team, who, although his defense has dropped, he's going to set the tone for the rest of the game, even if he's on the court. Mm-hmm. He's going to set how you play the defense, do all this stuff, and the team should play like that for the rest of the game, even though he's not on the court.
Doc Rivers has a reputation for keeping rookies out of the game and making them earn it over a long period of time. Giving minutes to vets and so on. That's probably why he's a player's coach and all the vets love him.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a mistake if he doesn't hand the keys to Gilgeous-Alexander?
You gotta put some trust in your rookies. You have vets, but you can't just give the keys. You can't give the keys to a baby and expect him to be a perfect driver. It's kind of like that. Mm-hmm. Just let him ease into it. Don't make it hard for the kid to try and earn it. He has the potential to start, but Patrick Beverley at the moment has NBA elite defense. Mm-hmm. He's insane. on defense, especially.
He's probably the guy I would least want to play against.
Yeah.
In the entire league, him and Marcus Smart.
Yeah. So
it really gets under your skin.
Yeah, having him he's a defensive star, and having a rookie like Alexander coming off the bench, that's not a bad thing. He's getting, as long as he's getting time, he's getting used to this. He'll be starting soon. There's no way he won't start at least a couple of games a season.
So yeah, that's the beauty of having a coach like a Brad Stevens, because he instills this mindset in his players that it doesn't matter, and in fact, from game to game, he'll even change the starting lineup. You saw him do it in the playoffs even.
Yeah.
And the players are bought into it. Doc is a different kind of coach. You earn a starting role, and the starting role matters. And I don't think that he will give Gilgeous-Alexander the keys to the car right away, but I think he should. I think this kid is that good, and I think that he, not just his physical abilities, I think he's the smartest player in the draft.
Smartest, like highest IQ for a
basketball IQ. Yep, best basketball IQ in the draft, even better than Doncic. And I think that even if he's not as crafty a playmaker and his jumper is a little funny looking, he just knows how to play basketball. He just makes it happen. People are gonna forget all of that, and there's gonna come a point, maybe it's mid-season, where you just can't keep this kid out of the game. So I think he's gonna get his chance. So they won a surprising 42 games last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, let me ask you this: do you think they got better or worse?
They got rid of DeAndre, Blake. They did things that they think they needed to do.
The Blake thing happened early on, so they won these 42 games without him mostly.
Yeah, basically for the rest, or for half of the season or whatever. So that's actually impressive. Losing a star, and the Pistons, when gaining Blake Griffin, actually did. I mean, they didn't live up to the expectations, I don't think. They kind of dropped down a little bit, while Clippers exploded in expectations. They were supposed to go down a little bit, and maybe they were already at like 30-something wins, so it wasn't that hard to win those games, but I'm still thinking that they did pretty well without Blake Griffin. And obviously losing DeAndre Jordan, I don't think that's a major problem. Clippers fans didn't like him.
Really?
A lot of people, I don't think people liked him this season.
Well, he has a little bit of a cloud hanging over his head after that debacle where he almost went to the Mavs before. There was questions about his loyalty and stuff like that. How much of this do you pin on Blake? Do you think Blake's just a hard guy to play with, that it's hard to design a good system around him because of the way he plays?
He just wants the ball, and he wants to drive in and try dunking it. I don't know if I could say a flashy player, but he can dunk the ball. I realize that. But the guy needs to work on his jumper. Like, if he can form somewhat of like a decent jumper, he'll be a good NBA player. But he hasn't realized that from the beginning. He just wants to go ahead. Hey, let me dunk it. You get blocked every time. I swear, dude.
So Blake, the jumper's probably not going to change.
Yeah,
right?
The jumper's not going to change.
It's a little too late in the game now to be changing his jumper. It's gotten a lot better from day one.
Yeah.
He's also, he doesn't try to just dunk it on people's heads every time like he did coming up, and part of the reason is because it's dangerous. You embarrass enough guys and put them on posters enough, and they're coming for you.
Yeah. And
he was getting hammered rather than get posterized, right? Yeah. And it's dangerous, and he's had a lot of serious injuries. But to close it up, better or worse this year than they were last year? Strictly in terms of wins.
In terms of wins?
Remembering they're playing LeBron 4 times. It's only 4 games. Yeah. It's not a big deal, right?
4 games is pretty much going to be losses. If they win a game versus LeBron, good Lord. But 42 wins, they can't... Can they do much better than that?
If you're asking me, I think...
They're going down to 12th, so they can't win another 42 games. It's just not right. I'm saying they're winning 32.
Way down to 32, so 10 less than last year.
Gotta go with it.
You're going with 32. Okay. Well, just because I'm totally on the Gilgeous-Alexander hype train, and I think he's gonna be. This is gonna be a hot take right here. Okay. Hot take. I think he either wins Rookie of the Year or finishes in the top 2 or 3.
Oh my.
I think he's that good, And I think even if he doesn't win the Rookie of the Year, he's one of the most surefire prospects in the entire class. He's a can't-miss dude.
I can see all the Trae Young
Yeah.
lovers coming in the comments.
Seriously, the Hawks would have been better off just taking Gilgeous-Alexander.
Anybody else.
Well, you could have traded down to 11.
Yeah.
Picked up another extra 2 picks because that distance, you picked up an extra pick just for going down 2 spots.
Yeah.
You could have gone all the way to 11
Yeah.
and still picked this kid. So I think that their win total last year was I don't want to say a fluke, but I'm not picking them to win 42. I'm picking them to win 39. So I guess we're both saying they're worse. I think I'm comfortable with that. The Western Conference, did it get any easier?
No, heck no. You brought LeBron.
Brought LeBron in, and I don't know what did anybody lose in the West? No, I think it's going to be a tough road for them.
Cousins came over the Warriors.
39 wins. If they go down to 32, that is a bold prediction, sir. Much worse. And you're saying they're just going to be just slightly better than
Just slightly better than the Mavs.
and the Kings and the Suns.
Yeah. I think the bottom half's gonna be a little bit closer. I just don't want to go like really high to the point where it's like this is
Gotcha.
where it gets hard. But Clippers fans, I do believe the future is what you're looking for. You don't want to be in the playoffs right now because you'll get absolutely whooped by LeBron or Steph Curry, all these other guys.
Well, if you do make the playoffs, you're definitely going to be in the bottom half, and
You'll be at 8th.
you're losing in the first round.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
You don't even need playoff experience. Maybe a
yeah.
little bit of.
Jerome Robinson is a guy we didn't touch on very much. I know you haven't seen much of him, but he's another guy who there was a recent survey among the rookies about who they thought was going to be, have the highest impact among rookies, and he was at the top of the list in terms of his peers, people who have played against him. Even though he was picked, I'd have to look it up, but he was picked, I think, 13th or something like that. So, and I really like his game. He's got a smooth, he's almost like a Tobias Harris, but smoother. And who knows if he'll turn out to be that good, but I like the draft. And yeah, I like the Clippers in 2 years with Gilgeous-Alexander running the show. Hopefully, Tobias Harris is still going strong. You add 1 or 2 pieces, and yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to. So, good luck to Clippers fans.
Yeah.
All right, till next time.
Couple more years.